Noon. Today is February 12th, and it's 4 o'clock. So please call the roll.
Chairperson Wani Garza,
Here.
Vice Chair Ted Meziakos,
Present.
Alderman John Lash,
Here.
Alderman Emmanuel Yamas,
Here.
Alderman Brandon Tolliver,
Here.
5 present.
Okay. Approval the minutes for January 22nd, 24-0052.
So move.
Motion by Ann Lash. Second, Alderman Tolliver. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed 5-0. We have public comments?
No, we do not.
Okay. The first item on the agenda.
240036, a resolution authorizing the purchase of replacement and additional vehicles for the City of Aurora fleet.
Good afternoon. Derek Winston, Director of Public Facilities. What's before you is a request for authorization to procure several fleet vehicles and equipment that are approved in the '24 budget. Since 2020, the automotive industry has been plagued by labor and material shortages, which has disrupted or canceled production, resulting in extremely limited procurement opportunities, extended order fulfillment, or unavailability altogether. Rather than request authorization and pass resolutions for each vehicle, and possibly miss out on some of these opportunities, we're asking for authority to procure all the listed approved vehicles as they become available.
Questions, comments?
I guess I'll just ask, I always ask the same question, which are EVs or PHEVs of the ones that are available here that you're asking to procure? Or is that budgeted for?
Possibly. So obviously the high-efficiency vehicles are going to be our first choice where applicable. Currently, what I'm noticing in the field is that they're trending down on the production on those due to the low demand and material shortages. So the instances where the need is dire, then we're going to go ahead and procure what's available. But if we can wait, we're going to do everything we can to wait to get the most high-efficiency vehicle possible.
What do you describe as dire?
Like if you have like additional vehicles for additional staff for certain divisions, and all the ones on the list that have NA as existing vehicles are additional vehicles.
Okay, because I know we're getting new police utility vehicles. That's
Correct.
an example of something that
That's correct.
is new, not a NA. Okay, well, I shared with the chair before this, the direction I would like to see the city go, especially on some of the larger vehicles, is green hydrogen, PHEVs. The technology exists today on some of the large vehicles. We would have to get those retrofitted. It'd be more expensive. I would definitely like to see a green hydrogen electrolysis be part of our future project out at for our facility management, because we can produce it ourselves. It'll be much cheaper across the board, and then move our entire fleet in that direction. So I'm just offering a rationale as to why I won't be voting yes on this. I understand the position that you're in, but I would rather see us maintain the vehicles until the next 2 years, and we can implement and start moving our fleet more aggressively over in that direction.
Understand.
Yes?
I'm not too familiar with some of most of these vehicles, I should say, because they're not normal consumer vehicles. The first one, though, kind of stood out, the airport wheel loader. Is that literally just load wheels? What does that look like? What does it do?
It's actually it's a piece of construction equipment, and that particular application is for clearing runways. So it'll have a big plow on the end of it. It's one of like the large tractors you see, and it has the big bucket on the front.
Oh, okay. So does that come in any type of these technologies that Alderman Lash mentioned?
No, not on the heavy-duty side. So that technology currently is kind of lagging extremely behind the passenger vehicles. It's going to be some time before we see that perfected. I will say, though, with the newer pollutions that are instituted on the new vehicles, there will be a gain or not a gain, but a reduction in
Like the emissions?
Correct.
Okay. You mentioned pollution. I was like, no, we don't want more. So the technology just doesn't even exist yet, or that it's not that it's too expensive. It's that it's not a thing right now.
Correct. There are prototypes out there that they're really working with, but it hasn't been perfected to the point where it's really marketable.
So it'd be several years before that were to come to market, let alone be an option for us, probably. you're not an expert, that's fine, you don't have to answer that. You're just speculating. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that while we want to go green, reality is that it's just not an option for us on some of these vehicles right now. So I don't want to take the stance where I'm not going to vote for something that we need, like an ambulance or this wheel loader, because there's not a hydrogen version or electric version of it. So I just wanted that to be known. We still have a job to do here in the city to make sure that everything gets done, from plowing to emergency management. And if that means we have to use traditional gas-powered motors, that's what we have to do for the time being. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other question, comment? No? Okay.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Alderman Emmanuel Amas,
Second.
second Alderman Tolliver. Okay, so they pass.
I'll be a no vote.
Okay, so it's for one, no.
Call the roll.
Yeah, please.
Chairperson Wani Garza,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ted Maziakos,
Yes.
Alderman John Lash,
No.
Alderman Emmanuel Yamas,
Yes.
Alderman Brandon Tolliver.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 no.
Okay. Next item.
Thank you.
240058, a resolution to adopt unit prices provided by 4 respondents for 2024 electrical supplies for the electrical division.
Good afternoon, Ken Schroth with the Public Works Department. I'm going to describe this one since Ian's not available right now. Basically, you've seen this bid tab before. We establish unit prices for many of the common things that our electrical division use on a day-to-day basis. And if you look at this particular bid tab, you'll see that purchasing did a great job of highlighting the specific unit prices that are the lowest of each one of the called out items. And then there was only one location where the low bid was able to be matched by a local vendor, and you could see that highlighted in orange. But what this does, it establishes those unit costs so that our guys are able to figure out which vendor has the best unit price for each item, and then they seek out, they get purchase orders from purchasing and go ahead and order once we establish this list. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Questions, comments?
This is what we did last year, right?
Yes. Actually, last year, we ended up coming before you because we didn't think one particular vendor would exceed the $50,000, but we ended up having that issue, so then we ended up coming in and establishing a list that would get us through the end of the year, and now we're going to establish this more robust list for the year.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes?
Just a quick question. Are we actually buying these pieces for the quantity in there, or it's on demand, sort of approving the price, we'll buy when we need?
Correct. It's on demand. Yeah, we guesstimate what we think we might need for the year.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderman Lash,
Second.
second Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
Next item.
240065, a resolution authorizing El Torfer Cat to perform the recommended repairs and component replacements to fleet unit number 63-149 for $65,716.60 plus a 5% contingency of $3,285.83.
Okay, Derek Winston again, Director of Public Facilities. I was before you as a request for authorization to repair one of our cat wheel loaders, the same one that Alderman Yamas had questioned earlier, or same type, that sustained major damage to the front bucket and lifting mechanism during a snow event on January 12th. The unit's relatively new, beginning of 2022, and given the severity of the hit and the visual damage, we asked El Torfer Cat to assess the machine and provide repair recommendations, and provide a price quote, which is included in the request. The good news is that the damage is isolated to the lift arm mechanism and the main frame is intact.
question.
Yes?
What happened to it, and is it covered by insurance?
We're self-insured. It was on our property through one of our operators, and it was machine versus environment. I believe it got caught on some pavement by a manhole, was my understanding. And it kind of tweaked the whole front end of the bucket lifting mechanism.
So it's under self-insured and not
Correct.
covered otherwise? Thank you. No further questions.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Question for you, just from my understanding. In the past, I believe, conversation with the department had previous, these front-end pieces have some type of a mechanism that gives way when they hit an obstruction a little bit higher than the street? They're retractable or no?
Not on this piece of equipment.
Not on this
Like on the plows, we have the trip
Right,
edges,
right.
which will kind of give, they have
Right,
spring-loaded
right.
with a manhole, but this is actually a rigid bucket.
So it's completely rigid?
Correct.
Okay. And my next question is just for a bit more clarity. It's a maintenance item, right? This is a repair.
Correct.
So why does it have to come before us for a repair?
Because it exceeds the $50,000 threshold.
And we don't have a policy to, moving forward, to do these types of repairs, especially if you go to an insurance company, right? So we're self-insured, we take care of these things. What's the difference? I mean, I don't know if that's something maybe legal can tell us or no. Hello, maybe Pat, maybe Mr. Pat?
Patrick Collins, Assistant Corporation Counsel. I believe the city policy is that anything over $50,000 has to come before.
So that's strict, you're telling me? All right, so there's nothing in terms of repairs? Because if we had an insurance claim on this, insurance company would pay for it. But we are self-insured up to a certain point. That's all I'm trying to get at. That's all, I'm just trying to understand if, why we wouldn't be taking care of it just as an insurance repair item, that's all, from a legal standpoint. I have no issue with it, taking care of it, just make life easier for staff.
Is this because, I don't mean to cut in your question, but I want to piggyback on, is it just because we're spending more than 50,000 period with someone else, and we're not, if we were doing the repairs ourselves with our own manpower, we wouldn't need to, right?
Correct.
But because we're physically spending $50,000 or more, we need the council's approval?
That is correct, Alderman.
No, but again, it's, so we have nothing on there in regards to these repairs or insurance coverage or whatnot.
Well, there is no insurance coverage on it.
Okay,
So if there was an insurance claim or something like that, we
Gotcha.
wouldn't, the insurance would take care of that. We wouldn't be spending money on it because it's a self-insured item. We have to spend the money to repair it.
okay,
And anything over $50,000 comes before council.
gotcha, all right. All right, thank you so
Okay.
much.
So moved.
Motion, okay, motion by Young Lash, second Alderman Lamas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed 5-0. Next item.
Thank you.
A resolution to award the Fifth Street Water Main Extension Project located in Ward 2 to Brandt Excavating, Inc. in the bid amount of $263,383.45.
Good afternoon, Kurt Meath with the Engineering Division. So this project is located on Fifth Street, south of Benton and north of Clark. It's kind of a unique intersection. You're probably aware of it. It's Fifth Street splits apart, and there's a triangle park in the middle with a sundial, and there's currently no water main on that block. We did some sewer separation just south of there last fall and replaced the catch basin in that triangular island. And as we were excavating for that, we found a lead service that was about an inch in size, and it served about 5 homes along that stretch of the block. And I'm sure those houses have insufficient water pressure. It's a service that need to be replaced, and without water main on that block, to provide 5 separate services that would have been very long and not an ideal situation since the homeowners maintain those water services. So we looked at several options, including that, and decided it would be best to install water main, have typical shorter water services, similar to everywhere else in town, for these homeowners to maintain, and it would greatly improve their water quality and pressure. So we took the project out to bid. Brandt Excavating provided a very good bid compared to the other contractors, over 20% below engineer's estimate. We received 8 bids, and confident they can get the work done. Be happy to answer any questions.
Yes?
The first is, do we know how many more other areas there are without water mains? I know there's at least one that I'm aware of in the First Ward that need this sort of additional infrastructure.
As far as concerns have been brought to our attention, not aware of any. As we happen upon them and evaluate alternatives, then we see where it makes sense to add water main or just replace services if they're lead, like this case.
Okay.
Where was the issue in Ward 1?
There's
I haven't heard of anything.
Yeah, there's a street, I was walking over by Garfield Park there that they apparently don't have a water main on their street. So I know I did the same thing.
That's strange.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, if you could.
And then my second question was, when they come this much below sort of the engineering standard, both this bid and the next one, do we typically encounter, obviously using up the contingency, or them coming back if they underbid at all? Or do you feel confident that we'll get it at this price? It just seemed both of them seem pretty.
A lot of times it depends on the contractor. I've worked with this specific contractor a lot and have confidence they can get the work done. About half of this work is replacing water services, which are directionally drilled, which is their specialty. So I think that's why their prices were more favorable for the city than the other contractors who would sub out that work. So they're going to self-perform all of the work.
So moved?
Motion by Alderman Lash,
Second.
second Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed 5-0. Next item.
240078, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to enter into an agreement with Chicago Paving Contractors, Inc., Lake Zurich, Illinois, in the amount of $699,950 for the 2024 citywide pavement patching for water and sewer maintenance.
This is an annual contract we bid out this time of year. Throughout the year, water and sewer does water main dig repairs, sanitary sewer, replaces catch basins, all throughout town. And as part of that, they'll disturb a couple square yards of pavement or a sidewalk square or a piece of curb. And to efficiently get all that work done, we bid out a unit price contract at the beginning of the year, compile lists that will then issue regularly to the contractor to get these done as efficiently as possible. So we bid this out and got 5 bids back, and the low bidder, Chicagoland Paving Contractors, was new to everyone involved with this contract with the city. So we asked for references, talked to probably 3 or 4 other municipalities within the Chicagoland area, got voicemails from a couple others, and a lot of positive reviews. So I'm confident they can get the work done, and recommend approval, and be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Questions, comments?
Question, Madam Chair. When do you expect the plants to open this year?
It's typically in the middle of April.
All right, do you think they're gonna open up a little earlier or no? By chance for you?
I haven't seen a lot of fluctuation in that before in the past.
Okay.
It probably depends on also what they have on their books as far as upcoming work and how urgent it is.
All right.
Okay.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, motion made by Alderman Lamas, second Alderman Lash. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed by
Thank you.
0. Okay. No other items to discuss in this meeting?
Madam Chair, just real quick, if I can piggyback on a question I brought up earlier, a couple of items before, if our legal counsel can just get back, even offer, behind, outside this committee, the validity of looking at streamlining something that seems pretty straightforward. We have to repair something. I know when we passed the $50,000 item, which I remember having a conversation with Third Floor, I never thought about this insurance thing, I think sort of boilerplate stuff, so we don't have to wait to repair something, especially if the city staff needs it when it comes to insurance items or insurance type items, even though it's not insurance, you're paying for it out of pocket, so. And if there's a limit that maybe be suggested as well, if it would help out, because, yeah, definitely if it's a new contract, it's something new that we're paying for, I could see that for sure. So, because my concern is delays for fixing things, and staff needs it. Have to go through this process, waiting 2-3 weeks.
Are you talking about only vehicles or for anything that
Can we
own?
let staff please answer?
Well, so he can answer for all of us. Oh, here, I'm going to piggyback on his question then, because his question to me doesn't make much sense. I wanted to ask,
Why
we're
doesn't it
talking,
make much sense?
can you let me ask my question to council like you just
I
said?
asked a question, I'm asking for a response.
So Pat, what I'm trying to say here is if we're only talking about vehicles, or is the question about all city property, because other things that we own and buildings or bridges, sidewalks, streets, are we delineating, are we
I mentioned
going between
equipment.
maintenance and repair? Well, that's what I wanted to,
I
that's what I was
said-
trying to ask you, you wouldn't let me
I
ask
asked
you.
for
Well, I'll try to answer.
That's exactly what it was.
So if any entity in the city wants to spend over $50,000, they have to bring it forward. Any of the repairs or anything that different than that, unless they have it budgeted for, they're gonna have to get the authority to do that from somewhere. And without bringing it to a committee, if it was more of an emergency thing, I know I've seen, Jason Bauer brought it for something for an emergency repair where they went direct to council. So in order to get the funding from that right away, or to, I think it was, you could also bring it to COW, so somewhere where you could bring it to another one to get approval faster on those types of situations. I guess I don't want to give an answer before without fully fleshing it out of what we would actually be able to do. Of like, well, if it's a repair, then you don't have to come, but if it's an expenditure for some of the other ones, a lot of the emergency expenditures, there is an avenue where it can be authorized and then they get approval after the fact in emergency type of situations. I believe without them still being here to find out with the system. I think they brought it here because it was from a snow thing most recently, and this is the first committee meeting since then in order to get it repaired. But they also wanted to get, from what it sounded like in this situation, they had to get estimates because it was a newer piece of machinery that they hadn't used on the rest of it. So there is a potential avenue where we could either amend the ordinance for repair type of situations, but I don't know all the mechanics of that. We'd have to go through of what would the criteria be, because you'd still want oversight, as with anything, and transparency that the government's going to need across that.
Well said, Mitch, just like I mentioned, keeping staff with their equipment ready to go without having to wait 2-3 weeks to do what they need to do to help out the residents, So that's where I'm coming from, if there's something like this, because we've had emergency situations where staff had to make decisions in the past and came back to us for after the fact approvals as well. I'm just trying to get at, not having to wait if they need this piece of equipment or any type of piece of equipment down the road.
Then there are emergency procurement procedures that they can do, that we have utilized before, and I think that is their best avenue. If it is an emergency, they can do it and then get after the fact approval.
Okay, so they just chose not to come in beforehand, so they're working on this, just going through the process.
Yes, it sounded like in this situation, they had to get estimates. They wanted to figure out the level of damage, what actually everything that was wrong with it, as well as, because it's a newer piece of equipment, what is the most advantageous situation for them to figure out their either repair, replace.
Okay. All right.
And they seemed in this one that they researched it and came back, and because it was over.
All right. Thank
Pat, I got a question for you.
Sure.
I don't know if this is why you were still on here or if it was after the fact, but this $50,000 threshold it was changed at least during my first term. Before that, I believe it was $25,000 across the board for everything. And at that time, when we were having discussions about raising it from 25 to 50, there were some aldermen that were concerned about that and them losing authority to, staff kind of going over our head, or the mayor's office going over our head for these purchases. And I think some of my colleagues in this room here were against that and are now asking, say, let's allow them to go with over $50,000. So maybe you want to come back here, or 'cause I think if you were to even move forward with anything, you would go to RAP, not to INT, but maybe at the next meeting, if you want to kind of give everyone kind of a summary of how we got to the 50,000, so we all understand why we do it. And you mentioned maybe some possible exceptions for emergencies. That'd be good if we all knew what those emergency exceptions were and what the criteria is, so that we know if something comes before us, this was not an emergency, this was having to fix some sidewalk, some stairs, which is a normal thing that we have to do. I wouldn't want us to just go and say, here's, $150,000, no council approval, no council knowledge.
Well, that is not an option. The emergency one is they can do it, but then it has to come back.
No, I'm talking about what's been suggested, where staff should be able to do that with over 50,000. That's a very
No, it wasn't
touchy area. I think that,
suggested. First of all, it wasn't suggested. We got to be very careful about making assumptions and putting words in people's mouths.
well, that's what happens when you don't let me speak, and I was trying to do that earlier.
No, that's what happens when you don't, Madam
When what?
Chair. Can we
Well, take
follow
control of this
Robert's Rules
meeting.
of Orders, please?
Can someone take control of the meeting?
You're out of line. Point of order. You're out of line. I had a question. I had a thought. I want to share with.
Well, she has to roll on a point of order.
And the
If you
fact
call
of
the
the
point of
matter
order.
is, I want to get a response first. You definitely have an opportunity to speak, just like everyone else
Counsel, there's a point of order on the
one
floor.
staff. I already made that point of order. It's
Yeah,
like you're
so-
trying to reverse it.
No.
I understand.
So
You're
the
an-
chairwoman
you're an
needs to rule
attorney,
on it.
And you know
If
very
you're talking
well
about
what
the
you're doing.
Robert's Rules of Orders here, then the
This
chairwoman
is
needs
a waste
to,
of, you're wasting time right here. That's
you
all
need to
you're
learn how to run a meeting if you were
I'm
vice
not
chair
running
of
a
this
meeting.
meeting.
Alderman Wani Garza is running
Excuse
this
me.
meeting.
Please, gentlemen,
Motion to adjourn?
he makes the opinion or he makes the questions and it's fine to the council answer already. So please, this kind of discussion wouldn't go nowhere, okay? Please. Okay, motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
Motion by Lamas, second by Jan Lesch. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, adjourn the meeting at 4:25. Thank you.